Hey there. This is an answer to a question that was asked, and it took me a minute to get back to this, but here I am. So Tuck and Roll asks, which printers have I gone through and their pros and cons? And this is a very long story, so I'm just going to talk about printing comics in general. This is my first attempt at printing my very first webcomic, Messenger. So these were printed both with Lulu, which is, I would say, a very easy to use printing service for, just most people. However, the cost of the books is going to be a little bit higher due to how the system works. But this is all in black and white. This is from like 2009. This is the final version. There's really no real difference except there's a barcode there with an ISBN number, which is one of the things that they provide. So in theory, you could sell your books in a bookstore. This was my first experiment with printing. I found it very easy to use, but I haven't used Lulu since. But I didn't really have any complaints other than the price of the books was a little expensive. But like, the print quality isn't bad. It is a digital print, so it's essentially like a very fancy laser printer. But they feel really nice. They feel like a book you would pick up from a bookstore. The binding quality is nice. Like, things considered, it's not a bad option. As long as you're not planning on buying a bunch of books yourself in bulk, probably, because the price is going to be kind of high for you, probably. This is why people run Kickstarters for like big runs of books, usually using a process that's different than digital prints. Like, digital print is cheaper, but like a lot of books you see like in the bookstore are printed on a different kind of press that uses ink. And so there's a lot more complexity involved in getting it right, and therefore it makes sense to, buy a lot at once. So this was my first attempt. Not unhappy with it. People bought it. That's very cool. I wanted to try a different printer to see if I could get a book at a different price point. So I moved on and did a reissue of the first chapter, and the second chapter is new at this time. This was in, what year was this? 2010? Is that right? But you can see like the size difference here, like look at that. Anyway, so you can kind of see a little bit like, how big these are. This is a smaller book. This is a bigger book. The interior is the same. I used the same files. I just had to resize. See, these edges are bigger to fit the page. These were done with a service called Kablam, and they just do comics, and they have all kinds of options. Their pricing is not bad. They're also a digital printer, but they offer black and white or color. Following Lulu, that's basically where I did all my printing. And one of the things that they do is you can put ads in the back, and that will add a discount to your book, like the cover price, so like bonus content, but basically the same as the book from Lulu. I kept it black and white just to try it out. Although the comic itself is in color, it would have been better in color, which is what I did with chapter 2. These are perfect bound, which is essentially like what you'd get at a bookstore. Again, here's, ads in the back to make it cheaper. But this is in color, and you can print on the inside covers, which is kind of cool. So you can put your own stuff in there. But, here's how it looks. Like, the colors are great. This is, again, it's digital print. It's like a fancy laser printer, but as far as I'm concerned, like, these colors are pretty accurate to my original artwork. So that's really nice. I'm pretty happy with the quality of these so far. Being perfect bound with this, you know, nice soft cover kind of thing going on. They are a little bit more expensive than some of the other options they have, but it depends on what you want and what you're willing to spend. Next are the follower books that I've done. These were also printed with Kablam, and they are a different style. They are not perfect bound. They are like magazine staple bound. They call it staple bound, but because of the thickness of the book, they're actually like a glued binding. But you can kind of see the difference in the cover. Like, it's not as glossy and the paper is much thinner. Like, there's cover stock and then the inner paper is, you know, kind of thin. But the price was better. It came out to like under $5 per copy. So I can mark that up a bit and actually make a better profit from each book. The print is not bad at all. The pages look glossy, and part of that is the paper and part of it is the fact that it's just covered in like toner. But, you know, all things considered, this is my first effort at like a magazine size single issue style comic where that's the first one I did. This is chapter 2, kind of the same deal, same size, same paper types, magazine format. It's still got like the glued binding, but oh, there's cat hair on it. Why? This is the most recent one I did, and this was like 2019, I think. I haven't printed since then. There's been a lot of life stuff happening that's made it hard. But Kablam made some changes at this point. This is just a proof copy. I never did like a full run of chapter 3 here, and I might not. I might just skip straight to volume 1 of like chapter 1 to 6 because I have it now. But there are some differences. Like, even though the page count of this book is about the same as these older issues, this actually has a stapled binding and it's not glued. So it looks a bit different. It looks more like a traditional comic. The cover stock is a heavier paper and the inside paper feels a little different. But otherwise, the quality is just as good. And, you know, I'm still happy with it. I would still print with them again. I just haven't been able to. But this one has a goof in it where they switched around the back cover for some reason, but again, it's a proof, so that would get corrected before final books came out. All I would say, I do like Kablam. This is them. I haven't really tried anything else yet, but, you know, I might. Here's a book that is a zine that I was included in, but I did not print this myself. Someone else handled that because it was a group thing. This little zine was printed by RA Comics Direct, and I believe this is also digital print, but like the quality of these is very nice, and I think to order from RA Comics Direct, you would have to place like a bulk order for like a bunch of books at once. But I've heard that their prices are good, and, you know, I can obviously see that the quality is quite nice. I have also heard good things, but I have not tried it, and I don't knowingly have anything that was printed by them. A company called Comics Wellspring. I've heard recommendations that are pretty good. All of this aside, like, if you're just making little comics yourself, you can make little mini comics and print them, you know, yourself and staple them. Like, this is some of the stuff that I was doing when I needed, like, I just wanted to have more stuff for my table at a convention I was going to. So I took some little short comics and just made little stapled versions. I just wanted cheap little things that could go on my table. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, tons of people do this. overall, I think the main thing to remember when you are printing a comic, if you can, from the start, which is what I did with Follower, because I had always planned, like even before I started drawing the comic, I had always planned on printing it eventually. So you have to make sure that you are making your pages the right size, the right resolution, and the right color settings. And investigate printers that you might be interested in using. See what their specifications are, see what they recommend. A lot of them have tutorials and templates and things you can use. You should be working at a minimum of a resolution of 300 dpi. You can go higher, but it doesn't always matter. Try to get like as close to the actual page size, like physically. So like 300 dpi, and this is like, I don't know what size this is. This is like 8.5 by 11. So what I did with these is the pages I was drawing were like 600 dpi, and I doubled the page size to make sure that the resolution would look nice, because artwork tends to look better if you draw it big and then shrink it down, because it hides a lot of the imperfections and things that you might not want to see. Those are my main tips, is like high resolution, 300 dpi, draw really big, shrink it down. Printing can be complicated. I'm lucky in that I went to college for this, so I have some background and it made it easier for me, but it still can be hard from time to time. One of the other things I recommend is, from most printers, you can request like print samples and paper samples. This is a print sample from Kablam, and it shows, you know, a lot of information about, you know, how things work with them, which is helpful. Here's what their templates look like, and you can use that to make sure your work is the right size. They have some color, black and white samples that you can see like different styles, how it looks, you know, coming off of their machine. And a chart that this is how these colors look in print on paper, but there's an address here you can go to and it will show you how it looks on the screen. So you can compare the differences between, you know, what you are drawing on your computer and how it's going to look on paper, because there will be slight differences, but you can kind of use it to help you adjust and correct as needed. I also have samples from Ingram Spark, because I was considering them for a different run of Follower comics, but these are all different samples of different print types and paper types, so you can see before you place an order, like, how's this gonna look? How much is this color gonna bleed through? What does this paper feel like? Is this what I want? That's something you should always look for. It's always worth asking if they can give you a sample. Or there's a lot of information here. I can go in more depth if you have more questions, or anybody has more questions. Feel free to ask me more questions, because I've just got piles and piles of stuff that I've made and drawn, and will happily talk about it till the end of time. So, thanks for watching.